know if she seems like a child, but
Word recording. I will go looking up the number of this if you don't know it, because I certainly don't. Um,
I am so
what do you want to
close.
guess? You want to guess?
68.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we just did 69, so it should be
We
pretty
just did
memorable.
69. Yeah.
Neighbor of the breast.
And
What?
68 and a half was
Mm.
the Omen or whatever. I don't know how that works.
This is number 666. That's what it was.
Oh, it's no, it just didn't get a number. It's in fact it doesn't have Luke on the recording because yeah.
And I'm the numbers guy
Yeah.
Well, you
somehow.
used the podcast 1999
Yeah, it was
theme and
number
everything.
6661 because it was 1999 upside down.
Six EPACs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I guess we does it then, if that's cool.
In at number 68. Wait, I don't remember any Matt, sing a Mozart tune.
Sorry, I lost it. I went off the rails.
I wanted to do the Die Hard one, but I couldn't remember if it was him or not. I know it has a name. It will always be the Die Hard music to me.
It's like how that one song is the beef song, right? You know what I'm talking about? Mark probably knows what I'm
Yeah,
talking about. Yeah, that's not the beef song. Wow, this is
Copeland? Right, it's
that's
Copeland.
right. Yeah. Wow, we're like a minute into the worst podcast ever now.
I love Copeland.
Where were we? Did we do an intro? Are
We're
we doing
doing
this?
Amadeus.
That's
This
right.
podcast is called Films and Filth.
That's also right.
Citizen Kane of podcasting.
That might be right.
And you are.
I'm mad.
I'm Mark.
I am Luke.
Coming back is Brian.
It is not John. It is Brian.
Right, right. Well,
It's not even Norman, who I think Norman wanted to do this movie. Hi, Norman, if you're listening. I think he was earmarked for it.
Right, but it's still like biblical in a Monty Python sense of the word if you're here, you know. Still works, I think. Let's see, Amadeus. Is this anyone's first view? I'm curious. Mark didn't because he forgot the stuff.
What?
Oh,
I forgot the stuff.
You forgot the movie had boobs in it, right? Which it didn't the first time you watched it, probably.
No, I don't think. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen this, but this is actually the movie that we've watched so far that I've seen the most times. This was
Okay.
one of my favorite movies as a child. That's what kind of a child I was.
yeah, this is
Music nerd.
This
more
is
like
the kind
Revenge
of
Nerd.
this is the kind of movie that Films and Filth exists for, because there is absolutely no way I would have watched this if we weren't doing this podcast. So I'll get into how I actually felt about the film, but just based on the concept and title and everything, I would have assumed, nah, that sounds boring as hell. I'm not going to watch that.
That's where it gets a little film geekery comes in because it's directed by Milos Forman, who generally, he makes.
I'm gonna be that
Cuckoo's
guy.
Nest
It's
and-
Milos.
Milos. Okay, you can be that guy.
Milos.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. I actually never have heard that, so first time correction. But yeah, he made what? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. What else? That's his big.
He went on to make People versus Larry Flint and
Right,
Man on the
right.
Moon, both of which were also very well received and very good.
He's a very entertaining filmmaker. So Amadeus, yes, it looks dry. The box art looks dry. I saw it first time at the university theater when I could just like walk in and out of the theater and see movies, and it was a different one every day. That was awesome. I didn't watch TV at the time because I could just walk in and out. So
To be fair, the box art actually looks pretty sick.
it does have cool
Yeah.
box art, but it's yeah. That's talking the what the Vienna Stadt Opera sort of vibe, is it? Yeah. So yeah, this is actually only like my third time watching it. So I saw the theatrical cut in the movie theater. I know I saw the director's cut on DVD, and then I watched it the last couple nights. So I'm not that deep in it actually, but I do like it. I just didn't obsessively watch it like it sounds like Mark might have.
I don't know if it's obsessive. It's like there are a lot of things here that I love, and it was kind of one of the first movies I saw as a kid that was scary. Because like I would posit that most of the like scary, I don't know, the abrupt dark things in this film are better executed than any horror movie we've done on this podcast yet. Where it's like there's some genuine like just
We
really
haven't had any horror on the good list yet, have we?
Shining's coming up soon.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that is not
it's not
yet,
The
though, is
Shining.
it?
It's not The Shining. Yeah, it's not
That's
The
not how
Shining.
time works, Matt.
Time becomes a loop.
And The Shining did come out in the 70s. Or wait, or the 80s?
80.
It was literally
80.
80s, so
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
depending on how you measure your decade, you could
Yes,
say it was
yes.
the 70s.
It is the 70s, ends in 1980. There you go.
How do you measure your
Okay.
centuries? How do you measure your millenniums? Okay, yeah.
Went on a technicality
That way.
there.
Technicality. But you know, I've never been that into classical music. I've never been that into Mozart. I just love this movie for what it is, which is watching one person just be an insane train wreck and the other one like slowly descending into bitter emptiness. And
They should have
also a
written that
bunch
on the
of
box.
debauchery and boobs and anger and sadness and darkness. And also, well, you know, I write music. I kind of identify like Matt, when you
I
write
don't think
music?
you don't even have to write music as long as you do something creative. I think you can identify.
Yeah, this is a very universal
But-
theme of this movie.
But like the thing where Mozart can just write music in his head before he writes it down, like I can do that. Can you do that, Matt?
Somewhat.
normal?
Yeah, I think it's somewhat normal.
I feel like
you'll
it's
have a
normal.
melody.
But I think the same conversation happens with art and with writing as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of authors hate Stephen King because he could just pump out books like that.
Yeah.
I will
I've
say-
definitely heard that the writers have different approaches, and some writers do like a big like chart and plot everything out, and some of them are just they write it down. And
Yeah.
I don't know, watching it as an adult, I'm like, oh no, Salieri's just a hack and a bad person, and it's not so much that Mozart is like a singular. I mean, he was a singular talent, but the movie's more about Salieri being a hack.
Right.
Brian, what was your journey with this movie? We haven't asked you yet.
Well, since it came out in the 80s, it was obviously one of those, cable perennial favorites that you turn on HBO or whatever, and it's going to be on. So I'm sure that's where I must have seen it. And so my memories of it were a little vague, and watching the director's cut confused me a bit because, of course, I don't remember what scenes are new and what are added. But yeah, I think it's a really more a character study of Salieri. I mean, you're getting whole monologues of him in the age makeup, which, by the way, for the time, maybe pretty good, I thought. Did you like the age makeup?
Yeah, I think they did a
fine.
good job with it.
Yeah, it was very convincing because it was more,
It was sold by his performance, I think.
Yeah. Also, he's
He's one of those
sitting
guys who
still.
never had a
Yeah.
young face.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
I kind of helped it, but I started watching this the other night back to back with watching an episode of The Penguin where the prosthetic, for Colin Farrell is just amazing. He completely subsumes him, and he's another character altogether. It's another person.
I know. The prosthetics in the Penguin are amazing, but I want to quote a tweet that I saw, which was like, "We used to just have actors who look like this."
Yeah, somebody is at home who looks like that, really
Half of them were
angry
on
they're
the
not getting
Twilight Zone.
work.
Yeah, they're just not being cast. Yeah. Well, of course
Yeah.
he had to play dual roles, so they had to do it this way. But remember back in the days of 50s,
Oh, yeah, no,
60s,
yeah.
we've seen this on the Twilight Zone 1,000 times. They just kind of gray up someone's temples and and that's it. Now you're old.
Yeah, it makes sense
So-
here because we're seeing him young and old, right?
I think this is an early case of like full facial prosthetics and stuff. I mean, I don't know what raised the game if it was Star
Elephant
Wars.
Man was about 2 or 3
Elephant
years
Man
earlier.
was so I think it was taking it up a notch in terms of the
As we've discussed, one of his co-stars was about to become Baron Harkonnen in the same year. So
Also the prosthetics and Elephant Man. It's funny because for weeks David Lynch was like, "I will do it myself," and eventually he was like, "I don't know what I'm doing," and he finally turned it over
Well,
to the makeup guys.
He did build a lot of stuff for Eraserhead.
Oh, well, yeah, that's
Fair.
why he wanted to do it because he was like,
Right.
"I did everything for Razorhead.
Yeah.
I can do everything for this movie," and found his limits
Yeah. Just in case some listeners didn't know, but
and found more limits making Dune.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements in that.
Thank you for coming to our David Lynch podcast.
Don't give Matt ideas.
Yeah, don't
But
give me ideas.
but also, man, this movie is the 80s, right? Like there's
Mm.
so much 80s in this, just as metaphor, where it's about just kind of scumbaggery and how you can't trust your friends, and but you could
Here's
almost just sub this for Wall Street and it would work.
um Mark, I have about five different things I was thinking of saying, but I think maybe that summary should come first if you got that ready to roll.
Okay, you ready?
Sure.
The dead speak. The galaxy has heard a mysterious broadcast, a threat of revenge in the sinister voice of the late Leopold Mozart. Constance Mozart dispatches secret agents to gather intelligence, while Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, the last hope of the Salzburg court, trains for battle against the diabolical Holy Roman Empire. Meanwhile, Supreme Leader Antonio Salieri rages in search of the Phantom Emperor, determined to destroy any threat to his power.
Oh, that's it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's wrong.
I mean, that could be it. That's fine. I was just checking on that. Uh,
So, what is the
actually,
historical accuracy of this plot?
not.
Not that much.
Anything at all. Even the number of kids he had. It shows him having one kid. They had six.
No. Oh,
Four of them died in infancy, and only
I
two
was
of
gonna
them
say,
lived.
yeah, like
hacked to death.
I understand
Salieri was
why.
married and had 8 kids and a mistress. He did. He
I
was
mean-
not
Really?
celibate for his art.
having kids is pretty depressing in those days, so I understand why they didn't
Yes.
show it.
Yeah, but both of those kids ended up being composers, and Constance Mozart was a musician and a singer, like an accomplished one, and she remarried, and the guy who she remarried, the two of them together wrote the first biography of Mozart, or one of the first, maybe the second. But so that's not hinted at here at all. It's like
All
maybe
the
a little
Salieri
mean to her,
business started in
actually.
1824 with a play called Mozart and Salieri, where in the play Salieri murders Mozart. He like stabs him to death. And 60
Yeah.
years later, so there's an opera of that. So that's where that got in everyone's craw. But I mean, they were just kind of bumping around Vienna about the same time. The movie is there is no historical accuracy really.
But
They just
also, apparently, like the rumors that he murdered Mozart are one of the reasons Salieri went on to have mental breakdowns.
Yeah, because he was either his teacher or they were friends, but there's a quote where Alexander Pushkin, I guess, is the one who sort of pushed that, or is it Alexander Pushkin or just somebody who just goes by Pushkin? The quote is something like Salieri didn't kill Mozart, but Pushkin killed Salieri.
Mm.
Oh,
Anyway.
and then of course we get to the play that this movie's based on. And Mark, you want to tell people why you did a Star Wars crawl for the opening?
Oh, it just popped into my head as something that would be funny. So I
Oh,
did it.
really? Because I thought you were referencing because Mark Hamill played Mozart on stage and he was not cast for the movie because they're like he's already Luke Skywalker and people won't accept him. So,
I
but
found that out later.
he did play him
So
on
they found
stage.
someone who looked a lot like Mark Hamill.
Yeah. Of course, you're thinking of dude from Animal House now. So, I mean, it still, yeah. When I first saw this movie, I'm like, that's the guy from Animal House.
I mean, he hasn't been in that much, I guess.
It's
He didn't-
Amadeus and Animal House.
When Holtz
basically.
does his Mozart laugh, I keep thinking of Hamill doing his Joker laugh.
I mean, yeah,
So,
this is a
that
Joker
laugh
movie,
was-
kind of.
Like, so perfect. Like, this film did such a good job of, for the first half, I couldn't wait for Salieri to murder Mozart because they made Mozart such an annoying prick. And then by the end, it actually felt tragic. So, yeah, I didn't really get into it in the opening. I did end up loving this film. Me and Mercy ended up watching it over like 3 nights because the only cut we could get was the 3-hour long
Yeah.
Abomination. But like each time we were gripped. Like I was not forcing myself through this film at all. Really enjoyed it. Our absolute favorite moments were anytime Salieri called Mozart the creature.
Yes.
Doubled over in laughter at that. He had her. The creature had my darling girl.
Yeah. Cue Joe Jackson. Is she really
Incredible
going out with him?
May I quote a letter from the actual Mozart? the real
Oh,
historical Mozart.
I
You
am
know where I'm going
aware.
with
I'm
this.
aware of what a freak Mozart was. Yeah.
Long live all those who. How does it go on? I now wish you a good night. Shit in your bed with all your might. Sleep with peace on your mind and try to kiss your own behind. We move on. Oh, my ass burns like fire. What on earth is the meaning of this? Maybe Muck wants to come out. Yes, yes, Muck. I know you, see you, taste you. And what's this? Is it possible, ye gods, oh ear of mine, are you deceiving me? No, it's true. What a long and melancholic sound. So he's just writing a
Yeah,
What
paragraph
a
about
delightful man.
farting.
it didn't change. It changed all these details about his life, but it didn't change him
No,
because
no.
he was this guy.
It said he wrote um a classical party ballad meant to be sung by six people at a time, called "Lick My Ass," which was followed up with the second piece called "Lick My Ass Nice and Clean." So, so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
we
another reason why I liked it as a kid is because I've always been a little freak. So there you go.
right. So speaking of historical accuracy, there are things here that are accurate, but other things that aren't. But I mean, it's such a this is the whole point of this movie is to be this archetypal thing of, being in the presence of genius and also having to be in the presence of the person with the genius while you
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have
yeah.
it. That's just so, and everybody can feel that. It's better
Well,
than this is a case where what's in the movie is probably better than the historically accurate version
yeah, of course.
by
But
far.
yeah, I made a note that like this movie is basically about how the only people who truly care about you are your haters.
Well, keep your enemies close, right?
I guess so.
Closer,
Well, I
closer than ever.
mean,
Well, that's basically the
obviously,
end of the film.
watching
Yeah.
watching this with Mercy, who's a big fanfic, gay, sexual tension fan. This felt just like a
Yep.
JoJo or any other anime where they're enemies, but Salieri is definitely on some level in love with Mozart in this film. And that final scene together where he's helping him like write the music and it's Mozart apologized to him. There was so much. I'm sure the Fujioshis in the 80s were getting obsessed with this little relationship. Like, I bet if I went on Archive of Our Own, there is a lot of like Mozart slash Salieri fan fiction.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I can see that. Here's a weird disconnect I have with the movie, though. I've played in orchestras for 30 years. I played lots of Mozart, and we're practicing the Magic Flute Overture that's in this movie right now. But I hate opera. And of
I
course, this focuses mostly on the operatic work
yeah.
because it looks cool. I mean, obviously, it's cinematic. Opera is the best way to go. I've seen
All
an
right, wait,
opera
wait,
in that
guys,
theater.
guys. Okay, yes. How many works of fan fiction on archiveofourown.org for Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart slash Antonio Salieri?
150.
666.
Brian?
12? I don't know.
Just
How many?
say a number.
I said
One.
12.
Okay, sorry. I thought you said
Oh boy.
both. 1,022.
Nice.
Well, I was half right then.
Well, there was a 1 and a 2 in it, so my 12 came close.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so in a
Oh,
way, you're the
yeah.
closest.
In a way, yeah, you're both the close. Like we
By
could
being
all
the
agree,
furthest
Mark
away.
is the furthest.
Mark's
Yeah.
number
Look,
sucked. You
well,
chose a bad
and
number, Mark.
I'm definitely at least glad that Mercy got to see this because I was like, yeah, she's gonna have stuff to talk about this stuff because I
Yeah,
definitely picked that up immediately. It feels like JoJo's, the first arc.
yeah, 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 yeah. This is very well. That's It's not Mercy who's the big Dio and Jonathan fan.
It is.
No, no, no. Matt, can I say?
Oh,
Oh yeah, sure, go for it.
It's Hannah who loves John and
oh,
Jonathan
nice.
and Dio.
Hell yeah.
Which that's my daughter. No, I thought you were coming out as a big Jonathan Dio fan. I was like, oh, okay.
No, my favorite is Joseph, the guy from the second season, because he's just like a hilarious prick.
Right.
Yeah, that arc is super good, but my favorite is still 4 because,
I don't think
a lot of reasons.
I don't think 2 is my favorite arc. He's just my favorite JoJo.
Gotcha.
How do y'all feel about harpsichords?
Yeah.
I
like
like
them.
harpsichords.
Yeah.
Okay, I think they sound like crap.
I think it was because of where I was exposed to harpsichords for the first time? The Partridge Family. There's a lot of harpsichord and Partridge Family music.
Really? Would they not auto harp? Wouldn't they have like auto harp or something? I don't know.
No, there are a lot of there's lots
Okay.
of lots of harpsichord in there.
I mean, I've used synthesizers in a way that makes them sound sort of like harpsichords, I suppose, but piano, I like pianos. I like pianos a
Oh yeah,
lot.
like a piano, fine. Which there's an anachronism. It has a Salieri playing on a pretty full scale piano, which I don't think existed at the time. But that's music nerd stuff.
Actually, I'm a well actuallying you again. Those were sort of coming into favor at that very moment. So
That
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
but
it might have.
they were called the piano forte
Yeah,
because
yeah, I guess he's a court musician, so he might have one.
yeah, they were called
Um,
piano forte originally because piano's quiet and forte is loud, and harpsichords can have only one like volume.
right.
That's the big difference, the piano forte, and then I think Beethoven sort of
He got a louder one, yeah.
So
But then we
I'm
yeah
couldn't hear it.
evolved it.
curious specifically about Beethoven and Mozart, whether they were contemporaries. Beethoven was 21 when Mozart died, and just before Mozart died, Beethoven moved to Vienna to try to
Hmm.
meet Mozart, but no one knows if they did indeed meet.
I'm thinking they
Correct.
probably didn't, but
Or,
yeah,
or they,
there's
they probably met like at a party or at an event, but not enough to talk and meet. And I'm glad they didn't throw in a cameo in the film.
yeah. I
Which
guarantee you,
they
if
would
somebody
do if
wrote
that
this
film was
now,
made today, yeah.
They
Yeah,
are
you're just
making it
walking by
today.
in the distance, looking longingly. Is that
who's
him?
this guy? I'm Beethoven. Oh, that
No,
would
Beethoven's just
that
like
would be like a
stalking
scene
him.
towards the
Post
end.
credit scene.
We could
So
I
write a
will
whole
say,
new play about Beethoven stalking Mozart. It'd be like the sequel to
yeah.
this one.
I mean, I'll be honest. I prefer Beethoven to Mozart by far. As a cello player, one because Mozart gives the cellos very boring parts most of the time, and Beethoven gives them very good parts. And then the dynamics are just bigger. I do think that that's a big leap in music.
well, it was an
I'm not
evolution,
smart
right?
enough to know the difference.
I'll tell you something interesting. I don't know if any of you guys found this, but the guy who wrote the play that this is based on, and I guess he also wrote the script, or at least
Peter
had a heavy,
Schaefer, is it?
yeah,
Schaffer, maybe I'm
twin
saying.
brother, twin brother of the guy who wrote the script for 1973 Wicker Man,
Ah, okay.
Sick.
Anthony Schaffer. So yeah, it's wild.
You mistake them for
Twin
each other.
brother. Wow.
Twin brother.
Oh,
He
Shepard's
also
killing it.
wrote the guy who wrote this also wrote the script for Equus, which I think is like a horse fucking movie or something. Like what the has
I know
anybody
it's
seen
about a horse, and I know Daniel Radcliffe gets his dick out on stage. I don't know if he fucks the horse.
this?
Yeah, that's all I knew about that too.
That's a newer version.
A
There is
horse
a
and
movie.
yeah, nudity.
I
That's
mean,
all
I
I
can
would.
search for the fanfics for Daniel Radcliffe slash horse.
I mean, please do. But still,
I
this
don't know the
this
name
is
of the
a
character or the horse, so I can't do that, I'm afraid.
Equus.
there's a
That's the name of the
movie from
character
the
and the horse.
70s. Yeah, the movie from the 70s was directed by Sidney Lumet, and it has Richard Burton in it. I don't think Richard Burton fucks a horse, but I mean, would we be surprised
Put a
if
little
it was
whiskey in
Richard?
him.
Yeah, he would. He would, and he would not apologize.
So
1977.
I guess that helps. Maybe that's, he's got this twin brother who's also a writer, so that probably is where the Mozart Salieri dynamic comes through somewhat, I would imagine. I mean, maybe I'm just guessing, but
But which one do you think is the Mozart? Which one is Salieri? Based purely on this and The Wicker Man.
well, he won an Oscar for this one. But I like The Wicker Man better.
Yeah, I do like The Wicker Man better, but this is like close. I still love this
Yeah,
movie.
oh yeah. This is a great. I'm not trying to,
But The
you
Wicker
know.
Man is like next level shit, basically. That's I don't know. I don't know what to compare Wicker Man to.
I mean, as okay, standard filmmaking, Amadeus is way better than Wicker Man, but Wicker Man has just that weird experimental edge to it. It's just the
Yeah.
vibe is off, and everything in Amadeus is like impeccable, basically.
I was
Yeah.
quite surprised by Amadeus specifically in how, although it's a period piece with all the costumes and everything, most of the acting and sort of the character work is much more just contemporary in style. Like, I really noticed it in the scene with Mozart's dad when he's getting basically kicked out of the house. And I was like, this exact scene, word for word, could be playing out in like a trailer park.
Here's
Yeah.
a wiki note on the production. Kenneth Branagh writes in his autobiography that he was one of the finalists for the role of Mozart, but was dropped for consideration when Foreman decided to make the film with an American cast. I wonder if that's what did it, because if
Um
we did have a bunch of people speaking the Queen's English, it would seem stuffier.
from what I
Yeah.
understand, he just basically told everyone, don't worry about the accents, just focus on the performance. So I don't know if that explains everything. I don't know if he specifically
They
set
were
out
kind of
to
all over the
cast
place.
Americans, but Foreman was very much like a I don't know if you call him anti-communist, but he was, escaped the Eastern Bloc and
He
was.
was a communist. He made the fireman's ball, right? Or
Yeah, I haven't
yeah.
seen it, but
Okay.
I read about it and it sounds great actually. Um, but yeah, there's something like a weird thing where they shot this in Prague because all the buildings are old there because of,
Mm.
what they had just been through basically. But there were a bunch of weird like stipulations, like his driver had to be a guy who was his best friend in childhood because it was implied that if he tried anything that they would execute him. It's real. There was some kind of weird thing where they shot the Don Giovanni scene on July 4th during one take. A large American flag unfurled from the ceiling and 500 extras stood up and sang the Star Spangled Banner. And the extras who stayed seated were presumed to be members of the Czechoslovakian secret police. That feels like it's missing context, but like that's pretty
I
weird.
want to see
30.
the film about the making of Amadeus now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he was considered a traitor for becoming an American citizen. So it's real tense. But I mean, I think the
Well,
tension,
America's a country founded by traitors.
yeah, basically. I mean, I think the tension worked its way into this in a really good way. Like nobody feels very comfortable in this movie, right?
Mm.
I can't prove I'm American at the moment. Can't find my passport.
Traitor.
He's trapped.
That
I know
reminds me, I
you're.
need to renew my passport, so thanks for that.
I need to get a new one. Probably.
I need to get one, period. I haven't
Oh
had
my
a
God.
passport.
Mine lapsed in like 2014. It's been gone. I really do need one in case stuff
I'm
happens.
I'm the least traveled person in this group.
Mine lapses next year and I live abroad, so should probably get on that.
Yeah. Where else
Yeah.
do we want to go with this? I mean, there's
Well,
lots of directions you could roll in, I guess. Oh,
I
yeah,
guess
the worst dated part of this movie. Should we bring that up? The Emperor.
oh
Oh dear.
yeah, he
Lord.
looked really damn creepy in this, didn't he?
He's supposed to be creepy, so it doesn't really damage the film. But whenever
Well,
you
it's kind of
see,
his type. He's usually a jerk in most of the roles he's
yeah, I
cast.
guess that's what makes him
Yeah.
like still like somewhat acceptable when he shows up in a movie. You're like, well, this character sucks and this guy sucks. So
Oh,
This
I
is
don't
the
know the actor, so
Jeffrey Jones is a kid diddler, basically, the
okay.
Emperor.
Oh, that me and Mercy have been going since we watched the film. So
yeah, it's brilliant. But
I didn't know that was
um,
a pedo intonation.
this is the first time I've watched it since I worked with a guy years ago who was uh, arrested and imprisoned for the same type of crimes, and it is a little jarring how similar his mannerisms. Like the guy I worked with was very pale and always looked kind of like haunted, and that definitely is Jeffrey Jones in this film.
Yeah, nonsense be that way.
Yep. Yep.
Oh, right.
But you know what I do like in this?
What is that?
Commissioner Leopold Simmons. I mean, Mozart. Good old Mr. Roy Dotrius.
Oh, does
And
that
the one thing
Daddy
I would like to
Mozart?
have from, the one thing I'd like to have from this movie is that portrait of him that glares down at Wolfgang in his apartment in Vienna. It's like,
I
what
want to
happened to
have.
that? What happened to that portrait? I want to know where it went.
So I've never watched opera, and I probably would find it boring, like Matt does. But the small snippets of it here were pretty cool, especially the one he made after his dad died. When that like big knight with the winged like helmet came in, I thought that was very sick. 'Cause I'm pretty sure I fought that thing in Dark Souls.
Well, here's the thing: the
Yes.
Vienna Stadt Opera. I have been there. I saw Rigoletto, so I stood there because we were in the standing room. But I stood through an entire opera there, and we had a tour of the place earlier in the day. And of course, you have this magnificent theater, right? It's like the best looking theater in the world. Also, you can see it in Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. But the backstage is insane. It's like a massive warehouse, and then there's push around massive opera sets, and there are just like 20 massive opera sets. It's like this it looks like a place you'd build like a, aircraft in or something. It's so the pomp and grandeur of it. I mean, even if you don't like the opera, the pomp, and then you got the Vienna Philharmonic playing. They're like the best orchestra in the world. I mean, at least when they do the overture, there's no singing. I just don't like bellowing singing. I don't like show tunes much. I don't like Broadway much.
Joy Division.
What?
You don't like Joy Division?
Love
That guy's
Joy
like,
no, I'm talking about power bellowing, right?
Oh.
That guy sounds like his brain short circuiting, which I guess it was.
It was.
No, I was watching Joy Division videos like last night.
Matt, let me ask you a question. Choose. I'll let you go to one tonight. Ballet or opera? Which do you pick?
Ballet, because there's no singing.
Okay.
I
think I'd take the opera over the
it's
ballet.
Russians. Okay.
I kind of am more bored by ballet, but I'm not a huge fan of either. I'd take a musical over either of those, like easily. Even a musical I don't like want to
Yeah, I think I
see.
would do that. I mean, I once when I was living in Atlanta with my wife, her friend was a professional singer, and we had to go see Madame Butterfly, which was we had to sit there for 3 hours to watch her play dead at the end. She didn't actually sing; she was just lying on the floor dead as a handmaiden at the end of it. So
That's like how I played Romeo once at school, but we were doing the play after Juliet, which is about other characters from Romeo and Juliet. So I just had to lie dead in a crypt.
Nice.
well, that can be harder
Good
than
work
you
if you
think,
can get
though.
it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
don't think you
didn't
got
want
paid
it.
for it.
I never signed up for the school plays, and then my drama teacher would make me do them. So that's why I always got shit roles.
We never had school plays at my school. I would have totally done that.
I wish
did.
I'd gone in for it more now than I did at the time. I never wanted to do anything that involved like organization or doing something. I just wanted to go and play Smash Brothers with my friends.
I kept going to art club meetings at my school, hoping that art club would do art, and it was just people who were artists hanging out, and nobody did anything. And that always bothered. I was much more of a like I want to do activities type of person. But
You were doing photography, right? I did a shit ton of
yeah,
photography. I hid in the dark room the last 2 years of high school.
yeah, I did do a lot of extracurricular photography, and I guess extracurricular meaning I used the school's dark room to do do free film developing. That's basically what it was. But um I would I'd have a hard time playing a corpse without being like, I died.
I'm too twitchy. I couldn't handle it.
Yeah. I kind of wonder during this movie if this is why I'm an atheist. Because you do systematically watch a guy just like lose
Well,
faith in God and throw his
I
cross
thought
in
it
the
was a
fire.
really interesting depiction of religion at that time because it doesn't cross Salieri's mind to be an atheist.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no
he goes straight
questioning that
from
God exists. It's just like, oh no, God, everyone knows God exists, but he must be an asshole.
Look at what
think-
he did to me. Therefore, yeah.
Yeah.
The
I
thing
think
about
people do
Salieri,
that
though,
sometimes.
the thing about Salieri is just those long monologues where he's absolutely rapturous describing music. And I think that's the thing that really kind of draws you in. It's like this guy sees the beauty of it all and just cannot get enough of it. And that just watching him be so joyous, even though he's burning with jealousy and hatred at the same time.
Well, that's the
It's
thing.
just amazing to watch.
He seems incapable of having fun with it. He wants to feel accomplished, but it seems like he does not have fun. He had to really work to get to the point he's at, right? Because it's not fun for him. It's all uphill.
Well, we see this entire movie is you're watching Mozart die unappreciated. And Salieri is the seemingly one of the only people who appreciates him or appreciates his talent at least. I mean, his wife appreciates him as a person, but also, he appreciates his talent. I mean, his wife doesn't have a whole lot of faith in him because she really thinks she needs to go like if you see the director's cut, show her boobies to get him a job, which he really shouldn't need that at all. And I guess he didn't, but it's about Salieri is the only guy who is as smart as we, the modern audience, are in appreciating him. So, he's our stand-in for this guy. This is the only guy who understands what the audience, understands. So
At what
it
point
was
did you like really lose respect for Salieri? I think you can kind of sympathize with him to a degree up to the point where he basically tells Mozart's wife, "Come back tonight
yeah.
and
Yeah.
give me a little something, and then I'll do what you want." And it's like, oh, now you're a total dick.
I see. It wasn't even like for me. It wasn't even that. It was when he then didn't even give him the job when she did turn up and show her tits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, didn't give him the job, also insisted on staying a virgin. Okay, maybe he shouldn't have used that to lose his virginity, but man, it's right there, man. You could have just had sex and given Mozart a
He
job.
can't have fun. He's incapable of
No.
fun. That's the
I
biggest
mean,
problem with
But that
Salieri.
is
maybe he doesn't want women, actually.
oh yeah, he wants Mozart. I think we can all
Yeah.
agree on that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the idea that talent doesn't really exist, it's just people who seem talented. It's because they enjoy doing the thing, so they did it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I feel super arrogant saying this, but yeah, I see a lot of myself in Mozart because I've done a lot of sitting at home working on creative projects obsessively while I run up a bunch of debt. So
Yeah.
No, if 3 months have gone by and I have not like worked on a song, I start to get depressed, you know?
Yeah, but I've done things like spend hours a day photoshopping, going on to Photoshop battles subreddit, or making memes or writing game show rounds that aren't finished. So stay tuned.
Yeah, see, Matt, the thing Matt's got over me and you is that he is focused on one artistic project and
Yeah.
has gotten pretty good at it. Whereas I've written a third of this novel and I've got this podcast that I do every week. And sometimes I try and draw pictures, but then I forget to do it for a year at a time. And it's like,
One thing though that's kind of interesting, I think you only have so much creative juice because I used to do just serious photography, right? And since I've been doing serious podcasting, I barely take pictures anymore.
now
It's not
you've been
even
in Japan too long, Matt, where everyone is only allowed one hobby and the rest of their time must be dedicated to work.
right.
I-
No. It's like I'd like to
That's the
take
secret of their
photos.
success.
I'd like to take more photos. I wish I had a bunch of like arty photos on, new arty photos on my phone. I can use them for album covers, that sort of thing. But it's not a time thing because I do this in the morning and I can take pictures. But yeah, that particular juice has been shifted
You
to
take
something
great
else.
food pictures.
I think
Right,
creative
foodie pictures only.
I think running out of creative juice is sort of maybe oversold to us partly
This isn't
because
running out. This is just diverting, and is what
yeah.
I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
you're just
Right.
satisfied, I think.
That might be it. Yeah,
That-
I
Because
don't need
yeah.
I
six in every
sometimes
photo.
think that I should stop doing so many podcasts because they're satisfying my creative energies, but they're not actually, no one's going to listen to these after I'm dead. And
Do
they're
you
all
guys
just
subscribe-
celebrating other people's content.
Did you guys subscribe to the notion that you empty your tank and then you have to recuperate and refill it before you can create again? Because Mozart
I've-
didn't seem to do that.
No,
He just
I-
kept going at a mad scramble all through his entire life writing things.
that's true
I mean-
of some people, but I think it's more a case of you have to live some life.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Like
the thing
that's
is
my
Mozart
problem with a
went
lot
out-
of modern filmmakers is that all they know about is other films. And I hear like Nintendo complain about game makers for the same reason. It's like if your whole life is just playing video games that already existed and then you want to make more video games, where's the creativity going to come from? You just have to go
Yeah.
I
out
guess
and
with
live.
Mozart came with partying and
Well,
drinking because that's the
yeah,
only
Yeah,
thing
that's
he
the thing.
did.
He did live. He lived
Yeah,
a
he
lot.
lived a
He just-
bunch.
He was having a blast.
he maybe
I guess
lived
that was
too
it.
much.
Yeah.
Too fast, because that's what I was going to say is that part of why we are sort of told that creative juices run out when you're young and never come back is because we have people like the Spice Girls who have their label just like push them super hard for 3 years and put out a couple of huge albums and then they're like don't want to do it anymore. Like wow,
Or
how
we
surprising.
have the other way it can go is you're very creative when you're, young, then you get successful and all you know about is touring and having lots of money and like
Yeah.
what are you going to sing about or write about now,
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't have to. We should have a team that just puts our podcasts out, and we shouldn't have to do anything but sit here and talk. That is like a little bit draining, right? Like I don't like doing
Oh yeah, post-production is not the fun part of this by any means.
if I could just be off social media and just make things and like get by like that, but you have to be on social media for a few reasons, just getting like, I don't know. I shared this podcast to a friend of mine and she listened to one of them. I was like, cool. I was like, you can be on the podcast. So maybe she will.
That's the prerequisite for being here. Just listen.
You must. No, that's not a prerequisite. So we've had people who not listen to one episode, I'm sure.
She's actually an actor, so that it makes more sense than
right.
just random stuff. But where was I going with that? Yes,
well, just how creative methods work with songs. Like for making music, I know a lot of times I'll make a bunch of stuff and then just not think about it for 6 months. I'll do something else for a while. I guess the thing where I can get things done is 6 months, I have something in the back of my head that sends me back to the thing I was working on before. But 6 months later, you're in a different place, you're in a different perspective. Now you can meld two viewpoints together to make something that's maybe better. I mean, maybe all my music is garbage. I don't know, but
for me, sometimes I just move stuff around and there's something in front of all my music gear, so I just don't bother with it for 6 months.
And I always go through a phase when I'm about to put out an album. I always have about at least a week, if not more, where I'm like, everything on this collection sounds the same, even when they don't. I don't know how that happens. That's kind of weird. I'm like, all these songs sound the same. Maybe because I made them in the same part of my life. I don't know.
Well, I'm just going to be the Salieri to all you guys and be totally envious because I don't know how to write music. I've always
I don't
wanted
know how to
to
write
learn
music, that's for sure.
Yeah, but it's something I always thought that would be a great thing to do. How do you do it? And it's like, I don't know.
I don't even know how to read music.
Doesn't come to my head. Yeah, I can barely.
I can only read cello music.
I can't read music
I know which
anymore.
notes are which.
So in many ways, I'm like one of the Beatles.
Every good boy deserves favor and something like that.
I think I'm much more like the Beatles than I am like Matt. I don't know any guitar chords. I don't remember what notes. I have perfect pitch, but I don't know what the notes are called. I can play like 6 or 7 instruments. I don't know how to read any music. I don't know the proper things will happen. Like I borrowed somebody's guitar and I gave it back to him and he said, "Man, the action's all messed up. What happened?" I was like, "I don't know. I guess I played it wrong."
Are you gonna take that, Matt? I'm more like the Beatles than I am like Matt.
We didn't specify which Beatle. No, I was thinking of the musician joke.
It's Ringo, motherfucker, over here.
Yeah, Ringo.
No, I was thinking of the dumb music joke where a band has just finished their gig and they've locked the keys in the car, and the drummer and the bass player are talking to the guitarist who's inside the car, but he can't find the key.
Yeah, what did the drummer get on his IQ test?
I don't know why the drummer is included in that joke, but although
I just did another separate joke. Anyway,
yep.
Does this count as a Joker movie? Is Mozart the Joker? Is he a Joker?
No, Mozart is the trauma that Jokerfies Salieri.
It's almost like they're two Batman villains, but there's just no Batman there.
Yep.
Maybe Batman is what it is his father. Because he kind of dressed like Batman that one time.
I did love the visual gag where, like, he had the masks on both sides, and, like, the mean mask is looking at Mozart. Then he turns around and it's the happy mask, but then he takes it off and it's his real mean face. That
was he did that on purpose.
Like, this film has, like, it has a lot of just little touches of character and humor, and that's why it never felt like a stuffy, boring watch in that way.
Yeah, I figured you'd like it. I wasn't entirely sure, but that's so fun, really. Luke, have you seen Man on the Moon or People versus Larry Flint?
I've not even heard of those two films.
Oh, okay. Well, one was about the guy who founded Hustler, and the other one's about Andy Kaufman. And I guess most of the rest of Milos Forman's movies have been like biopics about older topics, or like he did a couple of satires.
So this one, I presume, it fits into your camp of good biopic because it clearly hates both the people it's about.
Yeah, it was funny because I didn't realize I'd forgotten that I guess I decided that I didn't like biopics in the last like 10 years or so since the last time I watched this. So I was like,
Mm.
oh man, I have to justify why I like this guy's films, and I can't not entirely explain. I guess it's just so entertaining that I don't care if it was.
He's a
But I
good
think
storyteller.
you've said on this podcast before, like biopics are
Yeah,
good if they
The
don't
hit piece.
suck up to the person they're about. And
Yeah,
this
that's
film doesn't
fair.
suck up to Mozart or Salieri.
Yeah, I
Salieri's
do.
an obsessive psychopath, and then Mozart's just like the most annoying human who ever lived.
It's like I do feel bad for like the real Salieri because obviously this is completely like
Oh yeah,
way
this is
off
just
the
fiction,
reservation.
right? So,
But
But it
we
did
wouldn't
lead
be
to
talking
his
about him at
music.
all.
That's the thing. It led to like his music kind of having a resurgence. Like there's been performances of his stuff,
that's pretty
and
cool.
yeah, I mean that's great because man, it must have been really hard to make a name for yourself in like 19. What I almost said 19.
You did say
What is it?
19.
1870s,
1785, somewhere around the
1780.
bouts of that.
the other 80s.
The other 80s, yes.
The
Yeah.
other 80s.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
upstart Americans were starting the country or something. Yeah.
I think.
So I guess we're
doing,
So the
applying-
accents actually were more accurate than if they'd done British accents.
I suppose so.
Because
Yeah.
isn't the American accent what the accent was at that time? And then yours stagnated and ours developed?
I don't know. I sort of thought that.
I have heard that. I know
That's interesting.
You clicked on the YouTube video that YouTube put in my algorithm, but I didn't click on
I
it.
know a lot of the spellings and stuff. It's actually your guys are the originals and then we changed them. And like
Weird.
the what like herbs. It's meant to be pronounced the way Americans pronounce it, but we put the H back on to sound posh. So that's why we say herbs.
Does that explain aluminium?
That was
controversy.
weird because that's literally spelled different as well.
Yeah.
What a controversy this is. Oh, speaking of voices,
I like
and
schedule.
voices
Anyway.
and masks. Salieri comes to Mozart's door with a mask on, and with Mozart's perfect pitch and hearing, he didn't recognize Salieri's voice. I think he'd
Guess
be
he
the one
doesn't.
person who would pin him. And it's like, is that you?
I guess he
I-
doesn't have that kind
Yeah,
of.
hearing music and hearing people's distinguishing voice, I don't think you're using the same the
Yeah.
same part of your brain.
Part of the same part of
Medieval
the brain, yeah.
voice.
That's the thing that was the one like unlikely thing.
Also, I think Mozart was too
Hmm.
freaked out by seeing his dead dad.
Yeah, he counted on
ghost
the
mask.
mask, freaking him out. That's the reason that Salieri was at that one party, just so he could see Leopold and that costume, so he could, do that
I
gig
mean,
later.
I think he was at that party just to look at Mozart and
He
request
wasn't
his
there
own
to party,
music.
that's for sure.
A
That's his
psychopath.
problem.
Just
Wasn't-
constantly spying on Mozart everywhere. He's in every show up at the box,
Yeah.
lurking.
So I
Such a
guess we're not
lurker.
applying any filth to this film if I'm reading the
I mean-
room
I mean,
correctly.
Mozart
It
is
is a
pretty
little.
filthy, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
think this
yeah.
movie shits marble. No.
Okay. Yes. There's a lot of
in the end,
scatological humor, sure.
Gold.
So with that in mind, I do have a pretty good 1-star review.
Oh,
Yeah,
before we get into that, Matt,
Oh.
do you? Just my own curiosity. What's the deal with finding the non-director's cut of this film these days?
They just put out a 4K theatrical version this year. It has
Ah.
not been available for 22 years, but the
Yeah,
4K
this was like
great.
an infamous you can't see the original cut film, right?
Yes. But now, as of 2024, it apparently is available again. But yeah, all of us watched the director's cut, so
I
mean,
did find and download the theatrical cut, but it turned out to be the Spanish dub.
Oh wow.
But
So
we
20
started the
minutes.
film and we let it run for a couple minutes. I was like, wait. I was expecting the subtitles or the dub to come in a bit quicker than this. So then we jumped ahead to find a scene to see if they were speaking English later in the film. And it ended up being like 2 minutes without dialogue of Salieri sneaking into a cupboard and stealing some chocolates.
He might have
And
been
then
hungry.
finally someone started talking and we're like, oh yeah, that's dubbed.
Right.
So yeah, I had to go watch it elsewhere, and that's why I watched the director's cut.
Yeah,
And I'm glad I did because I got to see some titties. So
Yeah. Yeah, why not? So yeah, okay. In 2002, director Milos Forman introduced an R-rated version with nearly 20 minutes of restored footage. restored. So I guess he did. I was kind of wondering if maybe the quote unquote director's cut was just like the cut to sell more DVDs with extra footage in
That's
it.
pretty much what it was.
No, but it sounds like he actually did it was his idea at least.
Yeah, it was at
Because he
least a
died
cut
soon
by
after.
the director.
Yeah,
Whereas I
because he
think
died very
the
soon
original
after.
meaning of director's cut is meant to be this is the film he made before they fucked it up, right? But
Yeah, I think Blade
now
Runner kind
it
of
does just
introduced
mean
that.
here's the long version on the disc.
Well,
Yeah.
if you keep reading, Mark, it's like if it's not clear whether the director's cut represents Foreman's actual artistic vision. He defended the 20 minutes of cuts in his autobiography. So,
Hmm.
and repeated it
I'm
on the Laserdisc. So he was certainly happy to have it cut down a little bit. Roger Ebert wondered if the cut was inspired entirely by the desire to sell another video. So
well.
it's not clear. It's not a bad director's cut. I
I
mean, it's nice to
The
have,
film
yeah.
didn't feel flabby to me. Obviously, I've not seen the other one, so I don't know what gets cut. But
Yeah.
I think
suspect a lot of the
160 minutes is better than 180 minutes generally, but apparently most of what it added was the whole Salieri thing that I guess I just never seen the director's cut before. Not the whole Salieri thing, the whole Salieri
you say
thing where
the plot of
Constance
the
goes,
film.
yeah, where Constance Mozart goes over to his house, like that
Oh,
that
okay.
whole thing.
So he's less of a
That's
scumbag
interesting
in
because
the.
that does affect him as a character quite a lot. Like
Yeah,
it
it
makes him a lot
fits.
less sympathetic to have that scene.
I felt the extra stuff was probably a lot of the musical acts in the third hour. Like I don't remember Kenny Baker being in this movie, but he is
Mm.
I
during
did
one of those
spot him, and I
operas.
was like, "Wait, I recognize that guy." And then when he came up in the
Yeah, but
credits, I was like,
I
"Oh,
don't remember
it's
him from
R2D2."
He needs
40
to be
years
covered in
ago.
metal for you to really.
And I would have known who he was back in the 80s, so I would have gone, oh, it's R2. But yeah, I think they probably trimmed or removed some of those long musical numbers at some point in the
I'm
original cut.
not I'm not sure, but it doesn't feel like any music was added. So take that however you want it. But
None of us are sure we've got to get the original cut.
for
That's the
sure.
point.
Yeah.
We've got to, does Wikipedia describe which I was going to look that up.
I'm sure
Which scenes
somewhere
are
on the
added.
internet does, but that sounds like a lot of effort, and I'm not going to do that.
Well, the one
Oh,
star I have,
typing, no
the
way.
one star I have here is from 2001, so they were definitely watching the theatrical cut, which
All right.
I'll read that. If
Were
you're
they?
some musical person, watch it. Otherwise, I think it's a bad movie. What's wrong with these people? Mozart is portrayed as a dumbass and a genius. If he was like that, I hate him and people like that. It's as if they haven't lived a single day in their lives. This movie is a bad movie because of the music, which gets on my nerves. The directing isn't great and the storyline is boring. There's no inspiration, no acting, and the way Mozart dies is pathetic. The guy makes him think too much and his dumbass brain works too much. That's what he gets. Mozart is no hero. You want a heroic movie? That's Scarface and Braveheart.
Yeah.
Bizarre comparison.
Scarface, which
is my hero.
F. Murray Abraham was making this at the same time as Scarface, basically, or it was like right after the other, which kind of makes him. I feel like those two movies explain the early '80s just so well that it's amazing that he gets to be in both of them, even though he does get some comeuppance in Scarface that he does not get here.
Hmm.
Not going to specifically state
Well, he's an
spoilers.
old loon in a crazy house, like an old timey crazy house, which is
Okay,
even worse.
Matt.
Yeah, we
You pick this. You pick F. Murray Abraham at the end of Amadeus, or pick F. Murray Abraham dying in Scarface. Which one do you choose?
Well, he just dies in Scarface. That's finished. He has to live years as an old loon now.
me and Matt, our mutual friend Matty has told me on many occasions that the way he wants to go out is gunned down by the mafia in an Italian restaurant.
I'm trying so hard not to spoil how awesome his death is in Scarface, but just let me tell you, it's one of the most
Scarface on our
awesome.
list. It is, right?
No,
It's,
No.
it's one of those write-off. It's
I should say, 'cause I thought there'd be a bunch of 19-year-old boys giving that 10-star reviews.
I would
Maybe
bring
there's a
it in
bunch
for a
of girlfriends
birthday
forced to
movie.
watch it, giving it lower reviews.
Yeah, I would force you guys to watch it if it wasn't so long. But
I've
maybe
seen
you'll
it.
just
It's like
watch it of
two
your
or
own
three
volition.
times. I'm just not remembering how he dies in the movie specifically. I've seen it a couple
I'll
times.
check it out at some point because I recently discovered, I do actually quite like gangster movies.
Well, the weird thing about I don't think it's called a director's cut, but there's some like ultimate edition of Scarface that is like it's harder to get the original, where they've redubbed all the gunshots, so they're all like instead of, movie gunshots from the 80s. So that's a weird addition, and you
As long
may
as they
like it or
haven't
you may not.
removed the twangs of bullets missing. That's what I miss from old action films.
I don't remember, but you can find the original if you look for it, I'm sure. But
Yeah.
that's just the weird. I mean, I can understand why they did it, but it's just a weird thing to do to a movie, I guess.
As well as the creature. We were also amused by the shots of the madhouse at the end. Just like, yeah, back when mental health was just like chain a guy to a wall and give him some straw like a hamster to keep
Yeah.
him engaged.
Yeah, it's like the end of Dr. Caligari, basically.
Here's one more short 1 star because these are fun. Best Picture? Quite simply, this is the movie that convinced me that the Academy Awards are nothing more than a popularity contest. Not only does this film not deserve a Best Picture, but it deserves little recognition except for the performance of F. Murray Abraham. Save your time and money. See Attack of the Killer Tomatoes instead. At least the humor in
Solid
that movie
advice.
is funny, sort of.
Isn't usually the complaint about the Oscars that they're not enough of a popularity contest? So that the films that actual people like don't win.
I think this movie is where I first became aware of the Oscars and stuff because I remember as a kid when this is winning Oscars like, oh, that must be the best movie ever made. And then for a few years I think I thought that about every Oscar winner like, oh,
Oh
that means
yeah.
it's the best movie ever made. And
Well, I
then
By
remember like I
by
talked about
definition,
like, oh, we could follow up this list by doing the Oscar winners, and you were both just like, no.
No. Yeah, like I think many of the Oscar winners are genuinely worse than anything on the bad list, which
I don't
is
want to watch
it
The
sounds
English
weird.
Patient.
Yeah, Crash was awful. I mean, the bad one, not the good one. Um, I've definitely
What, you mean the
heard.
Bandicoot?
No, no, I like the
That's the
Bandicoot.
best one.
Oh no, he's the worst.
He's not as good as the movie about people fucking watching car crashes, though.
No, I'm mixing him up with Earthworm Jim again, aren't I?
Earthworm Jim's cool,
No.
but his creator not so much.
Wow.
Yeah, if you
Legendary
can
online
separate,
homophobe.
yeah, if you can separate the worm from the
Don't mention him in
writer.
the episode description, Matt, because he famously does Google himself and reply.
Yeah, he's like the Dilbert guy, basically,
Ah,
oh
okay.
God.
Oh
except
God, no,
worse.
not Sadams.
But that's the whole point of this movie, though, separating the art from the person.
Yeah, kinda.
So
But that's a lot easier when the artist has
Yeah.
been dead for hundreds of years.
true.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of points to this movie, and that is definitely one of them. Part of it is that nobody appreciates genius except for jealous, mediocre pricks, which is very fun in a way. um,
You got
you,
cork sniffers, right? Cork sniffers know what's up.
Yeah, I bet I know what corks Mozart wanted to sniff.
Yep.
Cut the
Yeah.
episode there,
So,
Matt. We don't need 30 plugs.
yeah, good.
I don't
Yeah,
think
it was.
anyone's coming for just this episode.
We were starting to run out of things to say, and I was like, well, another thing about this film that's good is that it
Like you
is.
always say, Mark, it is sometimes hard to talk about good films.
Yeah,
Now, about this film, I think
It's-
this film is good.
it's going to be really hard when we start talking about good films that all of us have seen multiple times. I guess we've done that once, but right, that we only done that once, right? Like Return of the Jedi is the only one,
Mm.
I think.
That might be right. Well, we'll be getting to Marvel movies and Batman and stuff before too long. So I think
Dark Knight
Yep.
Rises, I think, is going to be easy to talk about because that's such a weird film.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Where like
true.
there's parts of it I love, and then also parts of it that are god awful.
I guess that means we are finishing here. So I'm going to look at the calendar for a minute.
I for sure was like, when I saw that movie, I was like, I like this movie, but it's not a Batman movie.
Mm.
It's just a movie that happens to have Batman in it some.
Right. So this time next week, Mark, that's when we're doing Beneath, right?
Yep.
Okay. The fifth, sixth split. We have to do Three Ninjas, High Noon at Mega Mountain.
Wait, what? You mean the
Three-
day before?
I'm suggesting the day before, yes.
Did we have a guest for that?
No.
The
Three
5th and 6th
ninjas.
split.
Oh, it's
So the
election
sixth-
Tuesday
day.
to Wednesday. I can
The
do
6th
that.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's election day, so I can just, sit here and talk about ninjas instead of worrying about whether we get to
And the
pick
future of our country. Yeah, yeah.
fascism or yeah. All
There
right.
you go.
Fascism or fascism light.
Yeah, you'll
Yeah,
have
exactly.
much more fun with Mega Mountain than you will with election results.
Did we read the credits?
Hmm?
Did we read the credits? Are we done?
Oh yeah, we're
7:30.
Yeah, I told Matt just cut it. We're not going to do an outro. I'll take it after the sniffing corks joke.
I was waiting for the whole. I was waiting for the whole. You can find us on Patreon. You know,
Nah, they know where to find
oh.
us.
If I can do that to the summary, then Luke can do that to the ending.
Yeah.
I was going to take notes, but then I remembered this movie was all about too many notes, so I didn't take any notes.
Oh, nice. Damn, why did you put that in the podcast?
Well, Matt's still recording. You can put that at after the music.
No, I like the fact that we
You
don't
won.
quote too many notes because it's overquoted.
Yeah.
Too many quotes for too many notes.
Too many quotes, too many notes, too many
Too many
oats.
cooks. Too
Apparently,
many
yesterday was the
cooks.
10th anniversary of Too Many Cooks.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
that's really
I gotta
weird.
watch that again. That was warped. Love it.
I love it.
Do you guys know I scored a film with the guy, the murderer guy from that? Like
Nice.
we're actually we're friends on Facebook. He's like very angry neoliberal guy, and he's like fighting with all my friends about Israel now. And it's kind of like, oh boy.
He looks like that kind of guy, yeah.
I
I mean,
remember
he's at least at least whatever, not a Trumper guy. He's like he's just like super pro Harris Biden, and
Mm.
good for him. He's a nice man.
a few years
Oh,
ago,
wait.
I put on.
Which side of Israel is he fighting for?
He's fighting for the whatever the Democrats want to do side.
I don't think they know what they
that.
want to do.
They want to say words about how Israel is bad while continuing to sell them lots of guns and make money.
Yep, he's that. I don't think he's not thinking that through. God, are we still recording? I gotta
Yeah.
stop.
I can just.
Only the Patreons can hear this bit.
Well, he's not a patron, so
Yeah.
I think.
There we
But-
go. I will hit
Anyway,
the stop.
well,
though.
I
You've got
scored
to
a
feel
film
sorry for the poor emotional trauma that those IDF officers are feeling as they
Yeah.
pile up bodies, which was what CNN
Well-
was trying to make me care about most recently.